Good afternoon, everyone. Call this meeting to order.
Back, I got one.
First, we'll begin with roll call. Director Betty Doherty,
Here.
Director Donna McLear,
Here.
Director Bob Lux is here, Director Dale Walker,
Here.
Director Mike Wise.
Here.
Good. We have a quorum. We have an agenda. We're going to begin with agenda item 2, the opening invocation and the pledges of allegiance. Heavenly Father, we come to you today as an assembled body. We humbly request that you bless our meeting, our community, and our nation. Help us to work diligently, always for the common good and in the best interest of those who we have been elected to represent. Guide us to be insightful and prudent in our intentions, visions, plans, deliberations, decisions, and their fulfillment. Work through us to provide a spirit of welcome to all in attendance, to engage in respectful and thoughtful dialogue and discussion with understanding, wisdom, and humility. Amen. If you wish, prior to reciting the pledges of allegiance, please take an additional moment of silent prayer and reflection in the manner of your preference. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the United States flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, one.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. We got the first part.
That's right.
I'm the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Amen.
Amen.
Very much.
Amen. I'll go with.
Okay. Receive comments from the public. Any today, Shelley? Shelley, any comments from the public? None today? Okay. Agenda item 4, consider and act upon requests for adjustments to or relief from the specific charges imposed by the district. Mike, where's Mike? Was
To
there?
get something.
He was here a second ago. To your knowledge, does he have any?
I think so. I think he would have stayed.
Either that or he's ducking for cover.
An adjustment, but I have a house here that you all need to, I guess this is the time to do it. They haven't paid from 2019 to 20, well now 22. We've door hung them, we've sent them notices. They do owe the county. It's 7 East Stony Bridge Circle. Does anybody know anything about that house? The water's been turned off since 20. Nobody's there, looks vacant.
Did you say Dunn Bridge?
Stony Bridge.
Stony Bridge.
7 East Stony Bridge. And the water's been disconnected. It's true, I believe. Anyway, if you don't know anything about it, if you don't know the owners, it's David Rangel. So I think what I'm gonna do is let the attorneys follow through and file suit on the property.
That's specifically what one of the items that we're addressing today, isn't it, Brian? That's
That's what, 3 years, 19, 20, and 21. Wasn't involved already.
Hmm.
Wasn't involved already.
Well, I really don't know. Yeah. But we've had contact at one point, the father contacted us and he was gonna pay the taxes, the son was living there. But now there's been no contact at all.
There's no actions necessary by the board.
okay.
Just letting you know, I'm
just-
letting you know what I'm getting.
Thanks.
And I always like to know in case you all know anything about the property that I need to know about.
Stony Bridge,
7 Stone.
7 East Stony Bridge, Mr. Randolph.
RANGEL. Is that the way you spell it?
RANGEL, yeah.
Thank you, Jeannie. Mike's left again. Oh, there he is. Hi, Mike. Do you have nothing? Very good. Okay, the consent agenda, which is quite lengthy this time for some reason. Pages 1 through at least 28, apparently.
Several January housekeeping items we have each year.
Okay.
So the FD3 that is in this packet, that's an example of when that would apply. Is that, did I hear
So
you?
that's a separate, that's item 19.
So that is not in this consent agenda. I
That's
just
correct.
flipped too far.
That's correct.
I'll discuss it later. Thank
Yeah.
you.
See, that was a regular.
Oh, come on, give me a break. Give me a break. Oh, what do I know?
I don't have anything in second review here. Okay. Motion to approve from anyone, please? I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Director Doherty. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Okay, over to agenda item 14. Review and consider approval of the district's fiscal year 21-22 draft audit report. John?
Thank you. I'll be brief, but since you that's just for me anyway. So if there's anything you'd like me to cover, it's a relatively complex report, as Bob is well aware. And but we got through it. Things went well. Our goal is to finalize this the first weekend of February, get it to your attorney, where he'll get it to the TCEQ. Pending any changes that you may see, get over the next week, if you see something like Jim or Maureen know, and they'll get it to us. And
So just to confirm what you just said, action will be taken in February. So we've got a month to review.
we're looking for approval today, subject to any changes,
Okay.
minor changes that you may have, so that,
Okay.
it's due to the TCQ before your next meeting.
I see.
Did I read that this has already been approved by the trustees or do they
That's a
approve it
different-
after the
That's,
fact?
that's a different.
That's a different-
That's for the, Woodlands Water Agency.
Okay, not
Each MUD gets their own.
for our own separate thing. So we've
financial
got to
report.
approve this and then do the trustees have to act on it or?
So the
No.
trustees have their own audit.
Okay.
So they approve their audit, each MUD approves its respective.
So once we do that, we're ready to roll for the February thing. Okay,
Right,
thank
right.
you.
And we'll have a couple weeks if you see a typo, misspelling, whatever. Or just a question, we're glad to deal with them, and then we'll get it finalized and off to Brian, and we'll.
So this motion would be to approve pending amendment.
So it'll be approved, you would consider a motion to approve the audit, subject to any comments that may be provided by directors, staff, or consultants, and to authorize the finalized audit to be filed with the TCEQ by the 135-day deadline.
I so move.
You got that move, Adam?
I'm not gonna try to say that again.
Anything that was negatives in this, so that really, it was all pretty,
Real straightforward, yes, sir.
okay.
Yeah,
Nothing worth really saying, well, this is really bad, or this is,
right, yeah, we don't have any gotchas or anything like that. We made a few adjustments, but our opinions unqualified, which is good, and now it's we had to, if you look on pages 1 and 2, we had to decrease the font because our opinions got so voluminous. But yeah, all good news.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
all right.
Very good. We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
By Director Mike Wise. All in favor, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you, John. Okay. Pages 29 and 30, grant of exemptions from taxation for 2023 and the adoption of a resolution in connection therewith. So pages 29 and 30.
So this is an annual item for y'all. The last tax year, 22, the board granted a $20,000 over 65 and disabled exemption, along with the maximum 20% residential homestead exemption. So all the woodlands, as we talked about the last few years, all the woodlands, muds, north of the creek at least, have adopted the maximum 20% exemption, at least maximum as of the beginning of this legislative session. And the range of over 65 and disabled varies a little bit from, there's 3 districts, I think, that have done 10,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 districts that have done 20, including Mud 60, and then 1 district, Mud 47, that's done 30, and 1 district, Metro Center, that's not done over 65 and disabled, since they only have a few residents there.
Is there any compelling reason to move it to 30 or 25 or something? Is there? No.
We have the option to move it up.
And we're talking about homestead exemption, right? Is that what we're
Over
talking
65.
65.
And disability.
Yeah, right.
And disability.
So that's our job, is to set that.
Status too? Does that
That's what
include the
I'm wondering.
veteran status too?
Well, veterans is automatic.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, if they're disabled because of that, that's automatic.
Automatic, okay, I just want to make certain. I was trying to remember that.
Yeah, this is
I'm sorry, this is just for the mud tax, right?
correct.
Okay.
So we have a 20% exemption right now from a
That's-
60.
That's,
For residential, and then stacked on top of that is an additional $20,000 reduction for over 65 and disabled. So if you owned a house that was, $400,000 in the tax roll, you get 80,000 off for the 20%, and then you get another 20 off. So it would take your taxable value to 300,000 on a 400,000 taxable value for mud tax. Then your mud tax is 15.5 cents.
Right now you have, at the current correction, you have 1,113 over 65. That's 11,000 for 10,000 more. It's 11,130,000.
Yeah, usually just material and then body still whether you bump it 5 or 10,000.
okay. Could we so do at this time, or would we have to? We could amend this now.
Because each year you adopt your resolution for exemptions, because the tax levy attaches in January of each year. So this would be your exemption amount for the tax bills that will come out in September, October of this year.
In my opinion, it's probably worth considering to bump it for the simple reason that I believe the appraisal value is extremely high.
Right.
They've bumped up quite a bit.
Yeah.
They keep running that thing up as high as they can run it up. And
The loss is 17,800.
Is that at 10,000 additional? Okay, so.
And then if it doesn't work out, we can do it, change it back next year.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, but 17,000 on y'all's financials is not material.
I think we ought to consider.
Well, first we need a motion.
Don't you need a?
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion.
We get a motion.
Second.
We have a motion, Shelley, and a second from trustee Walker and, or Director Walker. And, now we're into discussion. Yeah.
Maximum 20% homestead exception.
So we're going to the max.
You're going to the max on the residential homestead,
But
yes.
you're at the max now.
Correct.
Residential.
Now, on top of that, you're increasing the over 65 and disabled by 10,000 from 10,000
Right here.
to 30,000.
I'm right there,
Yeah,
yes.
this is the section that would go to
So we're
30.
increasing
Need
this
to
to
make a
30,000.
Declaring how much, I mean, rather than just a general motion,
Okay, so we're.
whether we're gonna be 10, 20, 30, or whatever.
That's what the motion in the second was for.
I didn't,
Understanding is the motion was for 30,000 over 65 and disabled.
Okay.
Plus the maximum 20% residential.
okay,
offset.
good.
I think that's what Bob seconds, so we're ready for a vote. I think.
That's, we've.
Do I need to point
Further-
out that
further
everybody
discussion?
in here is probably over 65?
you do
It's
not.
just a.
No, you do not. It is not required. Counselor, it's not required by law, is it? Good. Your own business.
Hey, I want it on the record that I'm paying attention.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. We've had discussion, all in favor of the amended proposal. The amended resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. See the San Jacinto River Authority Division report, Woodlands Division report. Mr. Meeks?
I do not have anything today, but Dan does have the four reports to cover.
I have a question. Did I miss something? Like a dog with a bone, my dog with a bone issue as to what the, outstanding, withheld short pay, no pay is. I thought it would be on 35 or 36,
You're talking about tax?
the payments to the SJRA.
Oh,
That is not there. If it's not there, it should be on a GRP report.
And where is that, please? I don't know that we had one of those this week, that's why it wasn't there. Okay, so that's on the GRP all the time.
When I get that report, I think it's finalized tomorrow. I'll get it to Jim. So he can.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions regarding pages, that Chris usually handles, and then Dan will be up? No? Thank you, Chris. Hi, Dan.
Everybody.
Good afternoon.
So update on wastewater strategic plan. A few items to make you aware of in your packet. Page 42 is a one-page summary of, this is really the recommendations of not only SRA, but recommendations that were voted on at this most recent January 10th stakeholder meeting. There's a few exhibits there attached that we could talk about, but then also January 10th meeting summary is also included in your packet. But the 3 points that I wanted to touch on, and this month's board meeting, there's no voting on strategic plan. The path forward is to have the MUDs vote on this in January and then, February, and then further on to the trustees in March. So again, no voting today. This is just really time to discuss, ask questions, et cetera. One other resource that's available for you to review is on the Google Drive is the technical report. We've been at this wastewater strategic plan for over a year now. This was the last stakeholder meeting. This is kind of really wrapping everything up. So there is a large technical report and numerous appendices available for you to read if you want. Feel free to get with us if you have any questions, comments on that. That's something that we're looking to finalize end of January, early February. So if you have something, let us know before that. But last stakeholder meeting, again, there was 3 main recommendations that came from that stakeholder group. With the first one being that we are going to move forward with a phase 2 on the wastewater treatment facility 1, looking at alternative 9. Get a further idea on what the capacity that is, optimize it, refine some of the details and essentially the cost estimates. We anticipate that phase 2 work order scope of work to be under 500,000 and take approximately 6 months to complete. Some have asked, well, what's the plan for wastewater treatment facility 2? That is just going to be maintain operation of that for the next 20-25 years, which is the estimated remaining useful life of a lot of the major infrastructure of that plant. Upon that time, eventually we could look at consolidation again and bringing those flows down to plant 2. So we've really deferred the concept of consolidation at this point. But the way it's written in the wastewater strategic plan is that we would renew and replace wastewater treatment facility 2 and transition that to an MBR membrane bioreactor treatment process also. Second bullet that the recommendation was from the stakeholders was to proceed with land acquisition adjacent to wastewater treatment facility 1. Estimated cost right now, that's around $6 million. And then the third bullet is to commence preliminary engineering of the conveyance alternative. And that is looking from lift station 5 to south of Woodlands Parkway down to wastewater treatment facility 1. And we would be able to consolidate 5 lift stations and make it an all gravity line. So that's what is depicted in the following exhibits. One is showing alternative 9, building a new treatment plant, MBR treatment technology in 2027. And then the next exhibit is showing the potential routing of an all gravity system. So those are the 3 recommendations that we're going to see on future MUD agendas and trustees. So it's been a lot of work to get to this point. I know there is a lot of pieces to this. I appreciate the stakeholders being involved. I appreciate you all being involved. You know, what questions do you have at this point that I could try to help answer?
The only question that I came up with, not being part of the process, I know that it was arrived at after a lot of discussion, but it looks as though the footprint's getting smaller. Why do we need additional land?
So you going to the MBR treatment technology, it is, you're able to build a same amount of capacity on a smaller footprint. The issue is with our existing land, it is completely used up to where if we need to maintain operations, there's no way to really phase in and intertwine, you know, building a new MBR plant while maintaining operation of the existing treatment system. So that was the whole big concept of alternative 9, is moving it to the east so we can continue to operate and then build a new plant over there.
What percentage of the total cost is this land acquisition?
7 million.
6 million?
Yep.
That's really not that much in the grand scheme of things, is it? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dan.
Wasn't there an option in the future to decommission that western land as something else?
Yes, so that, you know, that might be something we could continue to look at in a phase 2 even, what to do with that land. But there's one piece of it, you'll see an exhibit on page 43, the flood dewatering building. There's a little blue box kind of in the upper left-hand corner. That's a new facility. So we are going to plan to maintain and utilize that sludge dewatering aspect, even with a new MBR treatment plant. So there will still be some infrastructure over there. Our effluent pipe going to the creek goes through that property. You know, we talked about maybe future maintenance facilities, future overflow parking. So there's some things that have value to the operations of the plant that we still need that land. But there is still discussion on, is there a portion of that maybe we could you know, open up to the public in some way? You know, what other uses, we'll just say. There's been a lot of ideas. But yes, there is still some value in multiple ways for the SRA and the operation piece. But eventually, yes, that will be demolished and decommissioned, that plant over there, everything hatched and young.
Thank you. Any further questions? Dale?
Dale, did you have something about the membranes?
You're right. I was gonna write to the head engineer that presented. I attended in the previous month. And I just was concerned about the sources of the membranes and where they're made, and do we have enough sources as opposed to a single source for the membrane? I realize that's more of a getting into the weeds specifically for that, but I remember there were several manufacturers of these.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make sure that we don't go sole source on the membranes. They last, what, 10 years? I think they last 10 years, 7 to 10. So let's say, so, you know, do we have to have some in our pantry in case one wears out, or do, you know, to go back to the manufacturer and where they're located?
That's a good discussion. I know we have the same, we have some lessons learned from GRP membranes.
Okay.
And so it is sole source, you go to Hall, but they do have some knockoffs that you can use. And so that's one thing we're going to bring forward when we look at the membranes here, is the lessons we learned from GRP.
Okay.
The sole source is definitely,
It's very, well, if you look at aircraft, for example, and when they've gone in and they buy munitions, when they did sole source, you know, it was $30 a round, but when they opened it up to competition, it came down to $10 a round. And there's examples all over. I just don't want to have sole source is basically what I'm saying. Because it'll hurt us in the end. And then the other thing too, if that company should decide to get out of the business and sells, and then do we have something that we can actually use to replace that?
Right.
That's my
So
concern.
there's different types of membrane.
Exactly.
Each type has multiple manufacturers, you would hope.
Yeah.
But that's something, yeah, we definitely need to.
Well, it's like an oil filter.
Right.
You can go and get a generic oil filter. You can get the Motorcraft. You can get the AC Delco, or you can get the STP. But it all fits.
Right.
Right. And it fits the purpose. What do you want to actually have? And you know, I can go to O'Reilly's or I can go to the dealer, and I have competition. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Oh, Dan.
Yes.
So we approved to go to a phase 2 of planning, the next set of planning. Can you review briefly what's next with that next? I mean, a whole lot of stuff happens in that planning. And is the MUDs or the stakeholder group, will they be called back in to look at that after you've made some headway, or what? That's 2 questions.
Sure. So right now, we are working on what should be included in that phase 2. The scope of work, you know, for example, the one big one is looking at, well, what's the capacity need to be? And has been discussed multiple times. But what else needs to be in there? So we're open for suggestions. If there's something that you want to see in phase 2, you know, let us know. The other big piece is how we look at the financials and break that down. And, you know, there's different opinions on how to slice and dice kind of the different financial views of this, and it ultimately getting to the rate impacts and, you know, impacts to the customers. So that will be another big piece of the scope of work. But in terms of bringing the stakeholders back in, I think at this point in time, I don't think we really plan to do that. So no. You know,
That committee's been dissolved.
This is moving forward and, you know, turns into more just, it's a huge program and project. You're going to hear a lot about it, and we'll be at all these meetings, but no current plan to bring the stakeholders back together.
So we just need to pay attention to the updates on what's going on if we want to know where you are in phase 2, right?
I'll be here every month. Or feel free to reach out. So, yes.
Thank you. Update on infrastructure funding. I know that Ed usually gives that. I know that things still hadn't moved out, that you're still waiting, to paraphrase, Ed made the report at the trustees meeting that there was really no action from some of the omnibus bills and some of the other funding sources, although that the oar is still in the water and working with consultants and others to secure anything that, or make ourselves aware of anything that's available. Bear Branch low flow vault update, please.
So not a whole lot there, other than we are waiting on delivery of the new vault lid, which should be mid-March is the latest estimate we have from manufacturer. At that point in time, we will bring on a small construction contractor to install that for us. So hopefully April, we should have a new lid on that vault.
Great. Bear Branch Dam.
I don't have any major updates for that. You will see in your packet, we are including just kind of the monthly O&M update. I don't remember what page. Is this past the page 53? So that's just a monthly summary of O&M type activities that we see out there, looking at security stuff, when are fences being cut, when do we see graffiti, just the main stuff.
I thought Ed also gave a this was the one on page 67 that I'm just overjoyed with, is that in that omnibus bill, the funds were secured by Representative what's his name, Crenshaw, yeah, to the tune of 3.6 million for that Bear Branch Dam improvements, and
That is correct. So that's for the
that's great.
soil cement spillway.
What was the total estimate of that?
About 4.8.
So we're
That's good.
got a big chunk of it.
Yep.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Spring Creek.
Well, just one more item real quick.
Yes, sir.
Past due receivable for GRP. The GRP MOR was left off, so we're gonna get some copies printed, but that total amount past 60 days is right at 26 million as of November 30th.
November 30th?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Spring Creek detention study?
So no major updates there, other than we have a meeting scheduled for the funding partners on January 30th. That will be to hear the results of the consultants' further optimization of the dams and update on the project, and really a chance for feedback from the funding partners on what direction we go and what the path forward is.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Agenda item 18, receive the attorney's report. Brian?
Short report. Today, legislature's back in session. As usual, we're monitoring the, exactly.
Sorry, I just gotta throw that in.
Oh, yeah. It's
Sorry.
every session.
Sorry.
You just never know.
That's rude, but
No. With the joke, the standing joke is, yeah, it's great that we only meet in Texas for, for 5 months every 2 years, but we should flip that and meet for 2 months every 5 years. So, no updates yet, but we'll be tracking legislation. We're keenly watching the discussion about what they're going to do with the surplus and possible changes on property taxes. So we'll see. Hopefully, if there's changes, it'll be pretty good, but there is $33 billion hanging around.
Right.
More to come. That's all I have under 18. Questions if y'all have them.
Okay. Agenda item, thank you, Brian. Agenda item 19, amendment of policy number R&S 14. Is that incorrectly marked at 55 and through 61? I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah. 54.
Yeah, it starts on 54.
54.
Okay.
Pages are about same number on.
It's in the vicinity.
Yeah.
So you'll see the memo there on the implementation of SB 3. Just as a reminder, SB 3 was passed in the last session in response to Winter Storm Uri, which was even more like in some of these big rainstorms that we've had over the last few years. But passed in response to Winter Storm Uri, it addressed the disconnection of water sewer service and the imposition of late fees for bills that are delinquent during an extreme weather event, which is defined to be a 2-day period where the temperatures don't exceed 28 degrees for the high. So, yeah. Now, the Woodlands, this was a bill that was solving a problem that didn't exist, frankly, because staff did not turn anybody off and didn't impose any late fees during Winter Storm Uri. But I guess there were some bad actor water sewer service providers out there who did, which prompted the need for this legislation. So it was passed in the last session. The PUC, the Public Utility Commission, was tasked with creating rules to implement it. So they finally got around to that.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what spurred this most recent memo, as well as the changes to the policy that you'll see redlined in your packet. All that just tracks the statute. If you have a payment plan, it's got to have certain components. It's got to be written. It's got to have a certain period of time. That's at the board's discretion. If you have a finance charge, it can't exceed 10% per year simple interest. So we just basically dumped all those rule requirements into the policy to make sure that if we ever have one of these again, we'll have a roadmap for how to implement it. Happy to answer questions if you don't have them.
I mean, it's Senate Bill 3. It's compliance is rather
Yeah.
required. Yeah. Good. Thank you.
A motion to approve the amendment to the policy.
Okay.
So moved.
Second. Anyone?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by Director Doherty, second by Director Walker. All in favor signify by saying, further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Okay, consider an act on the MUD 60 year-end customer communications and information message.
We included in your packet a sample that was put together for MUD 47. I think it's actually on page 61. For an example for your discussion and consideration.
How often are they sending this out? Yearly, annually, or?
The current action is to send it out next month, yearly, I think annual, is what they're looking at.
Being this came forward through the Public Education Committee. I don't know, we have another member of the Public Education Committee here with us today, thoughtfully, or Rhonda, welcome to see you. Nice to see you. And this was brought forward as a benefit to all of the MUDs, that and this was a template that was prepared actually by one of the members of the Public Education Committee, because just to let our ratepayers and customers know, what are you doing, and make them aware of actions that have been done, and perhaps create discussion and knowledge of our activities as well as what they might want to see be addressed. Just more public information outreach.
Do we have to take any action on this? Like, I'd like to do it. I think it's a great idea and it fits in with the education.
Committee as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wanda and I, we're living it.
This particular one has a couple of things that are unique to MUD 47. What we might recommend is you appoint one or two of your board members to work with our staff to think of things that are unique to MUD 60, and we would use this same template but incorporate things that might be of more interest just to MUD 60 residents.
What I like about it is that if you send out this and somebody were to read it, and apparently they do read the stuff we send, some people do. Then when they see articles like are over in the latter part, they have something, some context in which to put it, like the Oak Ridge article. I mean, if you don't know what we've done here, you don't know how that fits with what they're doing over there, raising and, you know, costs and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's a important thing for us to do.
So at this time, you would advise us to select or have some volunteer
Word
directors
is two,
to with
our staff.
and not necessarily the Public Education Committee will get another review prior to release.
What it's evolved into is our vision for this would be, it would be unique to each MUD. Each MUD that wants to do this, we would craft a sheet that's unique to that MUD. Some of the things may be common, but some may not be or will not be. Yeah, and I don't know. We haven't seen a strong interest in all MUDs wanting to do a sheet like this, but maybe it'll catch on.
If you'd like, we can have it either the delegated authority to send it out or have it come back, since it is from the board of directors, have it come back to the full board for y'all to look at, to sign off on and vote to send it out. So you can do it either way, either take action, take no action, take action to create a committee to prepare it and send it, or prepare it and bring it back to the board for approval.
Would it be more expeditious to have somebody, whoever is gonna work on that, just do it and say it's okay, rather than having to come back to us to vote?
Won't be out until March if we
Right.
do that.
I mean, it just seems like an extra step. And then if it's something wrong, you can get mad at, you know, what, we won't take responsibility. We could, that's a joke.
My mind's going forward here. Is this the proposal from MUD 47? They're ready to
They
go?
already did it.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
it
There
hasn't
you
gone
go.
out yet, but this has been approved.
Does this go out in the bill, with the bill?
No, it will be an e-blast. I can't remember if, maybe they did agree to do an insert.
That's what I was
in our
hoping.
bill.
That way, you're sure it's gonna get to everybody.
Well, bills don't go to everybody.
No, that's true.
But they go to most.
I think less than most. Yeah,
Apartments don't get a water bill.
Is the delay?
they're doing a combination of an insert and social media post and e-blast, which will cover most.
I'm sure that Hugh and others got started on this, several months ago.
Right.
Well, they
Laura-
met in
Laura-
December where a lot of other MUDs didn't, so that gives them a little advantage.
Okay.
This was approved at their December meeting.
Is delay a big issue? I mean, is
I don't think so.
it really, is it something that would preclude the value? Or should, we can always wait until next year.
Well, if we do it this year, I don't know if we could say Happy New Year if we're mailing it in April.
This is a template, and we would tweak it to which would be appropriate.
Well, if you've never communicated with them before, you could cover all the holidays.
It's 4th of July, happy 4th
Three
of July.
things.
Exactly.
That's actually a good one, because that's when most people are gonna turn on their sprinklers.
That's right.
So that'd be very topical.
Is it insert?
April, May, or a little, maybe end of March. I don't know when the bills go out. Trying to remember, end of the month.
Beginning of the next month.
Yeah, so they arrive in the first week of the next month.
Yep.
So April would work.
Insert is more expensive than any of the other things you'd be doing.
It is.
Considerably expensive, as I remember.
Well, I
doesn't
think
increase
it's about
cost.
$1 for the paper and the print.
Mhm.
And it
So
rides
you're-
free on the USPS? You're under the weight, it rides free?
Yeah, to my
Yes,
knowledge, it
I think-
doesn't increase the postage.
Postage, no.
So the e-blast goes to their email or to their phone number text,
It's just an email.
just an email.
To their.
That's about-
They provided to us.
We don't know how many for our 60, how many people are on the email thing for 60, do we? I bet Maureen, she looked,
Pull it up.
yeah, it's 22,000 is the last I heard, number I heard for all of us
We have over 20,000 email addresses.
Right.
Overall.
overall. So we don't know what for 60.
We have to dive in and get it.
Brian, are we allowed to receive comments from a committee member at this
On
time?
this topic,
At this time?
is a separate agenda.
Uh, Committee member Rhonda Troll?
Sending these things out is to be able to, more communication between the MUD and the residents, right? It's just touching them. My recommendation would be, or opinion, would be to do this on a quarterly basis. And honestly, you don't really have to make it, it doesn't have to be hard. So with Miss Betty sitting on that committee, even if you just collected some information, sent it over to the staff, then they could just get it out. I feel like that could be done pretty quickly and then do another one in the spring. Because I think as things arise, the more, even if they don't get them every time, but the more that you reach out to them during the year, it's just a better chance that they're going to see it. And then when problems arise, they can't say, well,
You didn't know.
never hear from you. That's just
And
my
you're sending them something else besides the 68-cent sewer raise. So wastewater, rate. I mean, the bad news, we'd be sending them the good news too. And then where construction would be going on and their life would be disrupted because of it. Those are the kind of things that.
The
we
good news
hear
about
from.
Bear Branch Dam, and we have Dan Crenshaw.
Right. And, that's also some bad news because I imagine when they start construction on that, that's going to be disruptive in terms of traffic, I would think. I don't know, but seems like.
Most
But
of,
they've already widened the lanes so that if they have to reduce a lane, they'll go back to where they used to be.
Mhm.
Because now we have 4 lanes instead of 2
Mhm.
going up and down that Kirkendall Road.
Right.
Well, this is an,
early to know exactly,
Too early,
but it won't be directly on the road, but it'll certainly be construction close to with traffic.
If we knew that, we could give them a heads up. Okay.
And of course, we can do that in a monthly e-blast. We routinely do e-blasts for different.
That would be for
e-blast.
everybody. That's not just for Mud City.
right.
Too. Right. Okay.
And of course, John Geiger sends out his irrigation recommendations once a week, and we normally include something of interest in that.
And John's done a great job. I mean, I really like, there's so much more out there, or so it seems to me. Maybe I'm looking for it more, but it seems to be a whole lot more things published and that are out there.
this is an action item, so we do need a motion.
Just for you, Maureen, about 50% of we have about 2,000 emails and you have about 4,000 accounts. Is that right?
Yeah, about 2,000 people that receive e-bills instead of paper or both.
So,
You need a
we have a
motion?
motion, please, and how would you craft that motion?
Well, I think that it sounds like with only having about 50% e-blast, you're probably gonna need to do it both paper
Both
and
ways.
e-blast. The real question for y'all is, do you want it to see whatever the notice is before it goes out, or do you just want to appoint a
Yeah.
committee to send it out? You gotta make a decision on that to be able to.
What would that be in discussion? And
Well, if-
First, we have to have a-
If somebody has a motion to do it one way or the other, then discussion.
Well, I move that you have a committee that works with the staff to put it together and that it's approved by the people that are working on it. And, it's going to get oversight by whoever's working on it and the staff. What's the benefit of bringing it back here and delaying it? So I would say we don't need to bring it back here, is my idea. And what
Okay.
would be, if I could make that more succinct, it would be my, I can't think of the word, what you're asking me. Motion, thank you.
But, okay, just to conceptualize this and find, your motion will be to have it done in paper and e-blast, with the appointment or volunteer of a committee of 2 without final approval before released by the Board of Trustees, the directors. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, further discussion?
I think that it's gonna go through the education committee for, approval. Is that gonna be a standing or no? No, okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's mud unique.
okay.
We're still in discussion, right? The number one, we haven't determined how often we're gonna do it. We talked about quarterly, we talked about annually. If you're gonna do it quarterly, you're gonna become pretty expensive
That's
with,
Uh,
with the insert, because you said about $1, so that could get pretty expensive. And other thing I'd add in that, I don't know if I 100% agree with Betty on not coming back for final approval
Mhm.
for us to see what's going out there.
Mhm.
If it's going out from me, I want to be able to see that, even though I trust the committee and so forth, but I still say I'd like to final approve that, in my opinion.
And I would, part of that same discussion would be quarterly seems like a lot. I would say do it once a year and maybe as needed if there's something to report. Because if you're locked into quarterly, I mean, I have been locked into quarterly before and you kind of got to make stuff up, you got to tap dance to have something on there. So I
We
would
have to-
say annually or as needed, maybe.
Do we have to vote on the motion on the floor, or can we amend the
Yeah, you
motion?
Amend the motion.
Can the author amend would that be the right way to do it? Okay. You want to amend that motion?
I would
Correct.
say, I would amend it to say, to be, sent annually or as needed. If we have something important they need to know, we can send it.
Okay.
And I mean, we can take out the part about, needing to come back here. I mean, I'm happy for it to come back here. That just seemed to be more expeditious to me, but
Okay. With those amendments, guess we can,
Second.
first you have to
Second on the
second on the
motion.
amendments. Okay, I'll second those amendments.
Okay.
And further discussion on those, on the amended motion.
So right now it's once a year, comes back to the board for a quick overview and approval.
Correct. In
So
February.
That makes sense.
February.
That makes good sense.
Okay.
Before it goes out, because more eyes looking at it will catch,
always.
if you're working on something, a lot of times you'll gloss over, you don't see the mistake, and then somebody else picks it up quickly.
And sometimes it's a little way it's phrased,
Mhm.
something that's.
Or it's something to do with the details of the particular rate.
Right.
Okay.
So our goal is to have something to work it out for February. Would be to go out in February.
Pretty aggressive.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
That depends on what the staff thinks is possible.
Getting content, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
How much time did this
Can't
take?
get
I
going.
would think we could set it.
It was prepared by the Bud 47 directors. We just tweaked it and proofed it.
So we don't
The
know.
topics were what they wanted.
Oh,
So that would be what we would suggest you have a committee or a point. Give us what topics you feel are important.
and some of the things they're saying here aren't just 47,
That's,
exclusive.
that's
So,
right. That's what I
I
was
mean,
thinking.
we don't have to get permission. I'm sure Laura wrote it. It reads like what Laura writes. So would we have to get permission from the author or the MUD to use the stuff?
This is public.
Yeah.
Once it becomes public, you can.
And it's, joint projects for Fair Branch.
Right.
The drainage as well as the dam, I mean.
And also, we just increased the
Exactly.
exemptions for the
Right.
Exactly.
65 plus. That's great news.
That's a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they did that. We did that.
Yeah.
I would think.
They already did. I know they did.
Did they go?
Yeah, they
go to
did. Yeah, they were-
30,000? Did they?
They're the only ones that were.
As far as.
Did they go to 30?
They went to 30, I think, last
They
year.
didn't put it on their,
Right, because they have already been there.
okay, but now we can.
As far as time frame is concerned, I would think we'd be able to set it for future years, say it's gonna go out in February.
Mhm.
But this year, we might want to push it to March or
March,
April,
yeah.
so we're just now coming up.
That makes good sense.
So,
Yeah.
But then we said, so what if would be
This
this
is a good template. I think that's what was the intention. Was, so we have an amended motion. We've had discussion. Call the question. All in favor of the amended motion signify by saying aye. All opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you.
Bob, as president,
I would greatly enjoy, I will, but if I would prefer to have some volunteers who could meet, well, don't need to grab them by the ear. So I will be awaiting a day or two for volunteers before making appointments. Thank you, Brian. Receive, agenda item 21, receive the general manager's report. Jim?
Thank you, sir. I want to highlight from the trustee meeting, we had a discussion regarding the recent Lone Star election, the fact that John Yours was on the ballot, received the highest number of votes, and then received information from legal consultant from Lone Star that he's not eligible to be sworn in.
Yeah, you missed all that drama, Gail, when you were gone.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is he not eligible to be sworn in?
Because when he applied to run, he did not resign from his MUD director position first. And he didn't know about that he had to do that first, because existing MUD directors are not allowed to run for the Lone Star groundwater. And they learned that like 2 days before they were going to swear him in.
Well, that's exclusive to that particular board as well. I think other places you can serve. That's been the general, my
You
understanding.
resign after you win
After
your
you've been
election, but he
elected, yeah.
didn't know it and his lawyer didn't know that. So now you're going to tell us what they're going to do.
So, with that concern, the trustees approved a letter from Bob Lux and the Woodlands Water Agency trustees to the Lone Star Board recommending that John be appointed to that position. And just an FYI, he has submitted his resignation as of Friday of last week.
Here, tonight?
Huh?
To MUD
Yeah, to
36.
MUD 36.
Done that already.
No, well, they'll act on it tomorrow. So I think his position is that frees him up without any encumbrance to be appointed if they're so inclined.
You think they will? You don't know?
Don't know. So that topic was also brought up at the chamber function. John Geiger attended the chamber representing us last week. He mentioned that topic to them. They haven't expressed an interest in trying to support that concept for John. I think there's a business advocacy council meeting of the Chamber of Commerce this Friday. From what I'm told, the San Jacinto River Authority is on that agenda. And we're seeing if maybe we can see if we can bring this topic up at that meeting on Friday to see if the chamber might be interested in doing some sort of formal support for John Yours. The Public Education Committee presented updated or their final draft of strategic communication plan to the trustees, which was approved. We also reported that first week in January, me, Bob Lux, and Neil Gaynor met with the Subsidence District General Manager and their technical staff regarding satellite imagery. You've heard us talk about discussions with the University of Houston, their, I guess, offer to do a refined analysis of subsidence in Montgomery County and maybe the Woodlands area. They have that technology, have the data. There's some interest in that, this group. When we learned that the Subsidence District has been working with U of H and SMU collecting satellite imagery. So I think the thought is at this point that maybe a consortium of us, the Subsidence District, and maybe some others might be a reasonable path forward on that topic.
This is Dr. Khan, right?
Dr.
U of H.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where that topic is. Then, of course, I referenced a number of compliment emails and messages that are also in your packet. And then we made reference to the city of Oak Ridge North announcing that they need to adjust their water and sewer rates. And we just thought that was interesting, might be informative for you guys, and that concludes my report.
Very good. Thank you, Jim. Agenda item 22, receive the Woodlands Water Trustees Report. Jim, again, please.
Well, what I didn't mention is that the trustees hired or formalized an employment agreement with a young man that will be the new general manager. He will be coming on board February the 6th. Be training for a period with me, and you will have a new GM very soon. Well, I think he will have the title, and we'll work out the details. I will be around helping for a number of months, but he will be your new GM.
He did leadership Montgomery with my daughter, and she thinks highly of it.
Yep, he has, fortunately, we found a candidate that's pretty well connected in Montgomery County, and it looks like an excellent fit.
Any other questions about the trustees report? Well, like I say, I was delighted at not only the hiring of Eric Peterson, but also the full support that he received from the Board of Trustees, and also the getting those funds for the Bear Branch Dam. That really helps. So keep at it. Anything else on that? Questions? Okay.
I think the other item that's in here is that I think you can't talk enough about, as far as I'm concerned, because it's been in litigation for such a long time. And that's if the courts ruled in favor of the contracts for SJRA. I mean, I think that's a real important thing.
Are they
The
going to
district-
appeal them?
Read the.
I read that. Was there a further appeal?
It'll be
You're gonna
appealed.
appeal it? Yeah, well,
Where's that located? The next level?
Beaumont, I believe.
What I understand, okay.
I thought they'd been to Beaumont. That
Not
judge
yet.
supposed to go back and mediate, didn't
Yeah,
he?
they appeal each issue along the way. It's been procedural up until now. This is the first substantive issue, and this is with the private companies, not the governmental entities that are still claiming governmental immunity. So that issue still has to be resolved for Conroe.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a three judge appeals? Or is that a single?
Beaumont is 3, I think.
3.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I couldn't say for sure.
And what's been their history on?
They had new elections too. didn't
Oh, they did? Okay. So
They have
that
one,
means
did they have a new judge
things are
win
different.
there? I
I can
could,
tell you about how the election stuff turned out over there. Say for certain.
So it's all new. Be all new. We don't.
maybe,
Well, let's just celebrate each step.
That's true.
Step
That's
Right.
true.
yes.
It's a long marathon, and we just started our steps.
There's a positive step too, isn't there?
It's a positive step. Yeah.
I thought the language was real extremely positive when I read it.
Yeah, just with as long as these cases have drug on,
Mhm.
it's, you kind of get tempered with,
Mm-hmm,
we'll see.
mm-hmm.
It's kind of the,
Good. Very good. Thank you, Jim. Agenda item 23, do we need closed session this time? Good, very good. 24, agenda item 25, discuss matters for placement on future agendas. Do we have anything
We
that
need to put the
immediately comes to mind?
mail out thing on the next agenda. The message that we're gonna send out, won't we need to put that on?
that I would basically carry forward. Item 20 will carry forward, and then we'll have an item regarding the vote to direct the trustee on how to vote on the wastewater strategic plan. Recommended items
For the February 6th meeting?
for the February 60 meeting.
Okay.
So the recommendations that were made by the stakeholder group, those will come, each of the MUDs will vote to direct their trustee how to vote in March. So the MUDs will vote in February to give direction to their trustee on whether to approve the 3 recommendations or not.
So we have two items that we've talked about, right? Customer message and the trustee direction for the strategic plan vote. Okay, anything else? Hearing nothing, adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.